questions.
What does this report mean for the legislature? Does this mean the issue's decided, won't be another vote, let the Senate vote stand, or should the House, take up the issue and vote it down like the Senate did?
Maybe we should talk to some people that might be in the legislature.
From my viewpoint, the issue largely has been decided. You need a positive vote from both bodies of the legislature to have the continued operation. The Senate vote was quite clear. It was 26 to 4. It doesn't seem to me that there needs to be any further legislative action at this point in time. I think this report reinforces what many people believed when that vote was taken this past year, was that the culture within the organization was such that people did not believe that there was any justification for continued operation. And I think that this just reinforces that notion.
Well, is there anything they can do? You said this report shows that it's unclear that that you can allow them to operate. But is there anything they can do to make that more clear? Change the culture, change the personnel, come to us with a better power deal?
I don't think that there's anything that's being done at this point in time that shows a way forward.
I think it's worth mentioning that you can't change the culture in 22 months. And, let's look at the history. Just the recent history. When it was decided that by Energy Louisiana that untruths had been told, they fired a few people. Remember, they brought in a new energy person who was going to lead us to truth and new leadership. Well, I don't know what's happened to that person, but since then that person too has disappeared without explanation, I might add, in the air. So the point is, I think this report is clear that Energy Louisiana does not do business the way we do business in Vermont. They can't seem to tell the truth. And that culture is not likely to change.
What if the plant's sold?
What's that?
What if the plant is sold and there's a new owner with a different culture? Would there be a clearer path towards a positive vote in the legislature?
I won't mean
All right.
legislation.
When it's sold, if it were to be sold and another corporation took over, first of all, I think the timing of that would be interesting. Those kinds of deals don't happen overnight, just as a cultural change doesn't have a shift overnight. So if we're looking at 22 months for all of that to happen, that is extremely difficult. That aside, if there were a new corporation, we would want to see all of the 81 changes made that were recommended in the original report. We would want to have a reassurance of trust. There's not room right now for any of this to take place. It is deep concern that we have, not just about the corporate systemic cultural problems and the information that we're receiving, but going forward, our state is looking at storage of nuclear waste, that which could pose extreme environmental problems for us. So when you ask that question, you just have touched the tip of a very large Antarctic iceberg.
I'd like to comment on that. I think that the rumors of the plant being shopped around are to simply just to keep a lifeline going for this current corporation's ability to continue to operate. The two corporations that I have heard mentioned, if they were the eventual owners, in my mind, and I think in most Vermonters' minds, they would make Entergy look like poster childs for how to do things correctly.
So can you rule out a vote by the legislature again on Vermont Yankee? Is this the end of it?
We have, well, first of all, we have an election coming up in November, and so I think that it's important for us to see what the results look like in November. At this point in time, I don't think there's any need to have an additional vote. So that's how I would leave it.
The Attorney General has yet to weigh in. This report, did you expect this report would be useful to him? Would you have, does it make the case for perjury?
I think the Attorney General's going to make that judgment. I think what the report really did was what the Speaker and I asked our panel to do, which is to have another look based on the fact that Entry Louisiana hadn't told the truth to the Public Service Board. How did that affect their conclusions? You know, I think it should be alarming to Vermonters that we have a company that doesn't ask questions, that protects its stockholders over the safety of the people of the state of Vermont, and that culturally can't tell the truth. And the Attorney General will have to look at those conclusions along with all the other information if there is any.
Since the city of Leak was identified and stopped in the Senate Health had its vote, it was the end of last winter, has the corporation done anything right? It's made a lot of statements and I guess an effort to make some changes. Has there been any improvements since that period of time?
Not that any of us have seen. And, you know, I think that if you talk to the business community, you should, around the state, as well as our power companies, they'll tell you that there's been no significant change in the way they regard Vermont. And, you know, aside from, as the chair of the Natural Resource Committee in the House just mentioned, aside from spending more money on television to try and influence the public with public relations campaigns, there hasn't been any cultural change that we have seen.